Ready packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be. Life with no distractions. We'll get away. This is what we waited for.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tandem Presents. Today, we are here with an award-winning author, Randy Weir. Did I say your last name correct?
You did.
Oh, I did. Oh,
Very
wow.
good. A lot of people say Wire.
Weir.
Yes, Weir, yes.
Weir. Okay.
Yes.
So we are going to be talking about your books. You have two series, and your latest book you published just this month, correct? November 1st?
November 1st, yep.
That's awesome. I saw the stats, and I was like, wow. That's awesome. So tell me about your book. Oh, first question. How are you making it through the pandemic?
I'm doing good. Like everyone else, it's a little odd
This is a
walking
different
around wearing
change.
masks and, but
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a homebody anyway. I like getting out and about. I'm good with talking with people one-on-one, but I'm not a big crowd guy and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm doing pretty good with it. We had just moved 2 years ago into this house,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's probably a good thing we moved when we did.
Mm-hmm.
It was just right. It was in August of 2019. So
Mm-hmm.
it was just
Oh,
right
wow. Right
about
before.
4 or 5 months later. That's when it really started to hit late in the year, and then in the U.S. it was
Yeah.
like February. It really started to take off.
Yeah.
And it's good that we moved when we did, because we moved into a bigger house, and my wife
Good.
now works from home all the time. We got a little more room here.
Yeah.
So if we get on each other's nerves, we got room to spread out a little bit more than we used to in our smaller house.
That's nice.
But all things considered, it's been fine. My sanity's pretty good.
Good.
I think we're all going to have a big mass burning party one of these days, whenever we hopefully can finally get rid of them for good. If that,
Yeah.
crossing
Yeah.
fingers, if that actually happens. Well,
Right.
time will tell. But no, I'm not bad. I'm sad for the world the way it's kind of
Yeah.
become because of this. Everybody's
Yeah.
kind of at each other's throats, and I wish everyone would just chill the F out, to
Just
be
relax.
honest with
Yes.
you,
Yes.
when it comes to this stuff. So, but thanks for asking.
Oh, you're
We're doing
anytime.
pretty good here in Colorado. Not terrible.
I used to live in Colorado. I used to live in Colorado Springs.
One of my favorite towns. That's where
Yeah.
the new book starts out. A lot of it takes place in Colorado Springs, strangely enough.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. That's where I used to live. For a little bit,
Yeah.
for just about a
Yeah.
year or
We
two.
can vacation down there a lot. We live in Westminster, which is a suburb of Denver, but
Okay.
a lot of my stories take place along the whole Front Range, Colorado area, though we do
Yeah.
other places as
Yeah.
well. But yes, we love Colorado. It's great, and it's been unreasonably dry the last few years. Had a lot of
Really?
fires and everything else, and
Oh,
I'm kind of hoping we start getting some moisture, because we
it's
haven't had a
dry.
lick of snow yet. Last year we got snow in September, which is not unusual,
Yeah.
and this year nothing yet here in town, and we're almost the middle of November already. So
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, okay, so tell me about your book, your recent book,
yeah, so Fallen Star.
Fallen
It's
Star.
the Divine Devils book 2. So the first book was called The Divine Devils,
Okay.
and this is book 2 in this series. And this takes place with my main character is named Hunter Divine. He's a former U.S. Marshal,
Mm-hmm.
and he has kind of a jaded past
Mm-hmm.
history with women and his job.
Wow.
And in the first book, he put together this team to protect these 2 teenagers from being kidnapped from a past love. And they call
Mm-hmm.
themselves the Divine Devils, his last name Divine, but they kind of are doing divine work, but they're kind of crossing over into devilish ways to
Yeah,
protect their
okay.
clients. So, but the new book, they're hired by a Hollywood starlet
Mm-hmm.
who is being blackmailed.
Oh.
And they go to Reno, Nevada, where she was vacationing. She has a place in Lake Tahoe, which is near Reno. And she was there, and they got some video footage of her doing some things she shouldn't be doing. And so she hires them to try to figure out who's blackmailing them. And of course, it's not exactly as it appears. It's much more involved. They find out this casino, there's a lot going on there, drugs and blackmail and all kinds of nefarious stuff. And they get deep into it. And then Hunter is also there's also some backstory on why he lost his job as the U.S. Marshal. And he's now got a chance to investigate this. And basically he was guarding someone as a U.S. Marshal and they were murdered. And he took the blame, a very high profile person, which.
Right.
So there's some backstory in there, and that's going to continue through the series until eventually it'll be resolved one way or another for him. But so it's a very gritty thing, but he puts together this team. It's a very diverse team, the Divine Devils. There's Hunter, Athena, who's an ex-girlfriend of his, and she's very tough and resourceful. Cameron, who is a biker, but he doesn't really follow the biker tradition. He's not really a brawler and all that. He actually likes to read and stuff like that, and he's into the arts and things. So I try to make my diverse characters diverse. And then Shen, who is a martial artist, and he's also gay. So a very diverse cast of characters there that work within his group, and he has a few other people that they kind of come and go and bring in there. And he has a boss, Amari, who's in a wheelchair, who hired him initially for jobs and kind of help him bring this team together. And Amari has a little bit of a past that will maybe reveal a little bit over time as well. So, but it was a long book. It didn't take me long to write it, but I had editing issues. My editor kind of fell off the face of the earth halfway through the editing process.
Oh no.
With COVID, I wasn't really sure what was going on. And she was communicating with me, so I had to actually start my editing process all over again with a different editor. Thankfully, I was able to find someone else, a fellow author friend of mine, jumped in and helped me and didn't charge me a boatload of money since I'd already paid the other lady who had edited several of my books before, but it's just kind of one of those things. So the book actually was delayed by several months. I was hoping it was going to be out for the summer. But fortunately she got in and was able to edit it pretty quickly and made some great suggestions and tightened it. I mean, it's a 440 page book.
Yeah,
so
440,
it's 150 some thousand words. So
it's
a lot of work.
Yeah.
Edit and stuff and try to get it right. But we finally got it out, and got my cover done and all that. And
I love your cover.
It's gotten good. I mean, I've had good feedback. I'm hoping to get more feedback from people, but the reviews have been so far really good.
That's good.
And I'm pleased with it, and I'm on to book 3 right now, about halfway, since I had a lot of time between editing issues. I'm about halfway through writing the next book of the series. So
tell me, how do you develop your characters? Do you allow them to just come to you, or do you actually really design a character?
I'm a very pantser type of writer. I always start with a basic premise, and I usually will have some characters in mind. Like I knew I was going to have a female that was going to be a part of the team, and I knew, this and that. But I'm kind of one of those, I let the book kind of write itself. I start out with a simple premise, I start writing, and then it kind of just develops itself from there. And then I kind of track a little bit, and I say, well, this character is like this. I want everybody to be the same, obviously. So I kind of give them different personalities. So I do a little bit of that, but I kind of let it kind of develop as I write along in the story. And I've had a lot of diverse characters. I try not to repeat myself too much, but it's obviously hard when you get a lot. And this book these 2 books in this series have a lot of characters. I mean, so there's a lot, and trying to keep track of them all and get the names right and stuff. So, but they kind of develop over time. And I'm kind of one of those, when I write, I sometimes feel like the story kind of writes itself. I mean, I know it's coming out of my head, but it kind of goes along. And initially I'm writing, when I start a book, I think, well, maybe it's going to go this way. But then when I start writing along, I go, no, actually, it's going to go this way.
Yeah.
It just kind of just steers off in different directions sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't too often. The first book in the no, this book, Fallen Star, was one of the few times where I've ever written the same a chapter and wrote it two different ways. I usually write it and then it just stays that way. But
Right.
this is the first book where I actually had one chapter and I go, well, I don't know if that really does that. Okay, I'm going to write it again. I'm going to write it differently this time.
Yeah.
And I end up sticking with the second one, not the first one. But that was real rare for me, because I know some people write several revisions and then do.
Right.
I don't generally
You
change
just write.
a
Yeah.
lot, at least when with the story. I mean, I
Right.
obviously fix things and grammar issues and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but I rarely change the story much as I write along. Maybe a little bit here and there, but I don't always know what it's going to be until I get to the end of it, and then I'll read back through it a second or third time, and I go, "Oh wow, that was really not what I was thinking it was going to turn out." But
Yeah.
I think it
I
came
think
out well.
that's the fun part. And then, like for me, when I go to write, it's like I'm entering into a whole different world. Is it the same for you?
Mhm.
Like you're going into this whole different world, and it's very vivid.
Yeah, it is, and I'm a bit of a vivid writer. Some people think I'm too descriptive in my writing sometimes,
Mhm.
and I get criticized about that by some people, and some people love that I paint a picture.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's just kind of my way I am personally too. I'm very
Yeah.
detailed oriented, and
Yeah.
I notice this and this. The curtains are blue and the walls are white, and
Yeah.
and sometimes I get a little too much of that, and I have to tone that down a little bit. But it is a different world, and you're creating that world, and some of it is based on reality. I mean, obviously, there's Reno, Nevada. I mean, that's a
Mhm.
gambling town.
Yeah.
But I create a casino that's not a real casino because you
Yeah.
don't want to make
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
crime organization out of an actual casino. So you have to
Right.
create one self. Make sure you come up with a name that isn't being used, and
Yeah.
then you create that world inside and you design how it's built and everything else. So yeah,
Yeah.
you do get immersed into the world. It's not quite like I've always been impressed with, say, fantasy writers or
Mhm.
sci-fi. Those guys are just create
Right.
universes. I create little worlds compared to what they're creating. They're creating
Yeah.
whole planets and everything.
Yeah. Languages too. Some of them will create a whole
Languages, yeah,
language.
I don't even know. It's like a whole nother language. It's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it's totally. So I'm not quite that good at that type of stuff, but yes, you do get immersed in your world, and there are times when I'm writing. I know I can't get to sleep at night until I get
Yeah.
up and finish what's in my head. It just
Yeah.
keeps me awake thinking about it.
Yeah. You got to get it out. So I always notice that for me personally, I always say that every writer has a fingerprint. So a good example is a few years ago, I grew up. My mom was a big reader, and she loved romance novels. She used to read a lot of Danielle Steele, and
Yeah.
was it Joanne Lindsay or something like that. She used to read all these romance things, and I got into learning when I was started researching to learn how to do my own books, and I fell upon Daniel Steele, and I started looking at the reviews for the first time, and I would hear people say, "Oh, all her books are the same. She just changed the names of the characters, like the same." And it made me think like, well, what do they mean? All the books are the same? And I realized it's something that a lot of independent authors I don't know if they try not to do it or they don't do it, but I think the cool thing about independent authors is that they think independently. So their books don't seem to have like their fingerprint is that uniqueness. Like I know if I read your book, this it is going to be if it's detail oriented is that's a part of your fingerprint. I know that if they were to take the names off the books and I read two similar books, I know that this is your book,
Right.
because there's your fingerprint on it. Do you see that too with other authors?
Yeah, and I think some of the big names like that sometimes are stuck
They're under a lot of
because they're
pressure.
trying to sell millions and
Right.
millions of copies. So they're repetitive on purpose, and sometimes their publishers want them to be repetitive.
Ah,
I don't have that restriction, obviously, because I don't have somebody tapping me on the shoulder saying, we paid you a
yeah.
big advance.
Yeah.
We got to make sure you sell. So you got to make this book
Yeah.
like this last million seller.
Yeah.
But make it different enough, just
Yeah.
character-wise.
Yeah.
And some music, music's somewhat like that too. Some artists
That's true.
really expand out and will do more, but sometimes their labels will tell them, no, you need to make it a record exactly like that last one that sold,
Yeah.
10 million
Yeah.
copies or whatever. And I think that's where independent authors are not stuck in that.
I think that's an advantage.
It is
Yeah.
an advantage. There's
Yeah.
obviously disadvantages too, but that
Yeah.
is an advantage. You're writing what you want. My characters, like Hunter Devine was my character in this series. The previous Private Eye series was Jarvis Mann, was my Private Eye.
Mm-hmm.
And they're different in a lot of ways, but they're a little bit the same in a lot of ways. Jarvis has got more humor in it than
Right.
the Divine Devil series. It's a little grittier and more streetwise and tough. There's a little more adult content in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's one of the nice things. So I think there is a fingerprint, and I know when I get my reviews,
Mm-hmm.
people say that about me. They say, I really paint a picture.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like it. Some people don't, but a lot of people like that. I can just see him. He writes, and I can see exactly what he's writing in my head while I'm reading along.
Yeah. And I think that's great.
Yeah, that's kind of my fingerprint, I think, in a lot of ways, that I do paint a picture, hopefully with words that and not overdo it sometimes. And some people don't. They want to be able to imagine it all themselves. They want to leave a little bit up to their imagination. But in my case, there isn't as much of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's hard. Not everybody likes everything, and that's fine.
No, and everyone has a different audience, and
Yeah.
it's finding that audience.
Yeah.
I don't read romance stuff. I'm not a big sci-fi guy. I'm not a big fantasy, but I know there's a lot involved in writing those stories. I've always been a mystery thriller, suspense, espionage type of.
Yeah.
Those are the books that I always enjoyed reading as I got older. And the original James Bond books.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Fleming was the author, and Robert Ludlum, and then I'm a big Robert B. Parker. So those are the books that I always enjoyed reading, and those are the stories I like to write.
Yeah. Wow. So how many books will you have in this series? How many books was in your first series?
There were 8 in the first series. I more or less wrapped it up with the last book, Man in the Crossfire.
Mm-hmm.
Though I've debated on whether I'm going to do more. The very first one was just an 8,000 word short story, and I actually had written that like 15 years before it was released, and then updated it way before independent publishing, and then. I said, well, maybe I'll try to independently publish it. And everyone go, wow, that detective would make a good detective for a series. And I'd already had an idea for book 2. And then it just grew from there. And then the Divine Devils, it's 2 so far.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on 3. And I'm imagining 4 or 5 books so far in the series, the way it's going. But we'll see. Time will tell. I never really thought I'd get 8 out of the Jarvis Mann series. So, it just kind of kept going and kept building, and the storyline.
Just kind of see how it goes. Yeah. I don't know. What age did you start? Well, I don't want to say what age, but
it was a long time ago. The galaxy far, far away. Well, I was a teenager. I always used to write. I wrote poetry and all kinds of stuff. As I often tell people, to deal with teenage angst.
Mm-hmm.
That was my way of dealing with the pressures of life and, loves and whatever else.
That's a positive way to do it. Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
positive.
I
Yeah.
mean, I wrote down a lot of things, and that was my way. And then got away from it for a long time and started writing some books. I wrote 3 books. It was kind of an espionage, CIA thriller books in the 80s. It was a trilogy, and I still have those. I did those like on a typewriter, and then it was like really early 8-bit computers at those times. If you're probably not old enough to remember, AMI Pro was one of the early word processors before, way before Word. Oh, geez, I'm drawing a blank on the other big word
Oh, the
processor.
other ones. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but so I wrote it down, but I still have those like digitally. I finally got them all digitally converted to Word, so I still have those.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
you know, I tried to get them published. Never really didn't have much luck. Didn't know how to get published, and then I just put them away and got married, had a kid, and then you know life kind of got in the way, and those you know working and I was an IT person by trade, so it was a lot of work, working a lot of hours and stuff. And then as my daughter started to get older, I said, well, I'm start revisiting this because you know I always have had the ideas in my head. So I kind
Yeah.
of put it to bed for a long time, but then came back, and it was in 2016 when I put out the first short story in the Driver's Man series, The Case of the Missing Bubblegum Card, which is free to download. Anyone can download it on Amazon and
Oh, wow.
for
Okay.
absolutely free. It's just a short, simple kind of coming of age sort of story with Jarvis helping a young man find a stolen baseball card.
Oh, wow.
So, and that was really just a basic story, and then it went on, and then it got a little grittier from there. That story really is almost a young adult type story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody could read it. And then just kept writing from there, and I can write pretty quickly.
Oh,
Things
really?
always interrupt me, but I'm a very streak writer. I could write 50,000 words, you know, in a couple of weeks in a row,
Wow.
and then I'll be burned out, and I won't pick it up again for a bunch more weeks.
Yeah.
Go right back to it again, pick it right up again, and then pick up right where I left off. So, which is countermand to what people say you should write every day and constantly write and stuff. And I'm kind of the opposite of that. I'm very streaky, write, and then
Right.
I'm busy doing other things, like with all these events I'm doing for the next this next 2 months with the holiday season and stuff.
That's
I
true.
probably
Yeah.
won't be writing quite as much, so no, I'll do
No.
some today. But I've
And
been doing a long. I mean,
a
I've
long
been
time.
writing a long time, way back more decades than I care to admit is.
Well, I mean, this month they have the whole NaNoWriMo,
Right.
and I'm not. I planned to participate, but now I'm so far behind on the word count. I'm like, eh.
Yeah, I've never done that. And like I said, I'm not a write on demand kind of guy. Like I tried to take some writing classes and I just couldn't write. You know, the teacher say, well, I want you to write a story about this. And I just
Yeah.
was never that type of writer.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
an inspiration writer, and it's something
Yeah.
that's got to move me to write. And the ideas seem to have to be mine. I don't know that I could ever collaborate with another author. Maybe I could, but it's just, it's got to be in my head to do it and get it out on paper digitally.
I once met a married couple. They're both authors, of course, and they wrote all their books together. And I asked them like, how do you do it? And she said that they would be in separate rooms in their home, and they each had their computer set up. He would spend the day writing whatever scene out on he'd be one character, she'd be the other, and he would write and then send it to her and she'd fill in with like her side of
Right.
it. It's somehow they did it, but I thought it was kind of cool because it really made it unpredictable because he doesn't know what she's going to write, she doesn't know what he's going to write, and so when they put it together, I think that's what really made their books
Right.
unique, that and she used to crack me up because she said if the FBI ever got a hold of her laptop, because they would write, they would do kind of like murder mystery kind of things like that.
Right.
And she said one time she was researching how to poison somebody with stuff
Yeah.
from your garden. And she said her friends suddenly stopped coming over to her house to eat.
Yeah.
So I was like, I kind of can't blame them. So she said that she thought it, yeah, I thought it was interesting, the way that they did it. I'm kind of curious about trying something like that because you never know. Like you gotta now go off of what this person write and put yourself into the scene and stuff like that. I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
It is. That would be and I've known people that one will write one chapter and then the next
Really?
person will write the next chapter and then they go back
Yeah.
and forth and all that and
Yeah.
everything. And yeah, I mean, I probably could do it. I'm just one of those. I'm kind
I
of
haven't tried it.
inspired. And now my wife she's had ideas.
Mhm.
She goes, I could give you ideas and you could write it for me. And I'm like, well, maybe, but
Maybe.
we'll see.
Yeah.
If
It
I run
doesn't
dry
really
on my
work
other
out.
ideas, maybe. Yeah,
It doesn't always work out. I've been given an idea, but it doesn't, this comes into your fingerprint.
yeah,
And you're trying to, in a way, that person is trying to give you one of their inspirations, and it's not always your inspiration.
right.
And yeah, I do. I've tried it with some friends, and it didn't really, it wasn't mine. So that was a problem.
Yeah, and I do. I need to be inspired. I need to have the
Yeah.
ideas there. I mean, I could get an idea from someone else that might inspire me to write. I
Mhm.
could say, well, yeah, I could do that, and maybe I could take it here, here, here. But I'll usually, it mostly it hasn't worked for me yet. We'll see.
Yeah.
I say,
Is
well,
it?
as long as I keep having ideas, if I start running out of them, maybe I'll start look.
Yeah.
But right now, I can
You're good.
see things, and it
Yeah.
says, "Oh, that would be interesting to try," or whatever. So,
So with inspiration, does music inspire you with with writing? Like maybe you heard a certain song, does it trigger? I don't know, that's a word. Trigger.
sure, yeah.
Yeah. Some inspiration for a story.
That's a good question. I have to. I'm not sure. Music a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, I know. I'm a big rock and roll kind of fan, and I like a little bit of the country rock and stuff, and R&B and
Mhm.
blues and stuff. I enjoy too, some of the older style stuff. But
Yeah.
a little bit of that maybe inspires me a little bit.
Mhm.
Maybe some of the social, especially some of the social type stuff, like Marvin.
Right.
I quote Marvin Gaye a few
Oh,
times
yeah.
in one of the new books, and some of the
Mhm.
stuff that he was doing when he kind of became more popular. And he's like, okay, I'm not going to just do the pop stuff anymore. I'm going to
Yeah.
talk about the social stuff.
Yeah.
And so, a little bit of that, yeah, kind of inspires me a little bit. Um, More TV and movies, sometimes even reading, obviously news, though the news sometimes is really depressing
Mhm.
sometimes
Yeah.
to read. Um, and I'm one of those people too. I know a lot of people can write
Mhm.
while they're playing music. I can't do that. I can't
Oh,
have
wow.
any type of sound
Oh, really? You need it
interrupt my
quiet.
brain. Yeah, I just I got to have like almost silence. I
Yeah.
mean, there
Yeah.
can be stuff going on in the background, but my door's usually closed in my office,
Yeah.
and my brain can't have because I can't process hearing songs and writing what
And
I'm
writing
thinking at
it.
the same time. I'd
Ah.
probably write the song down while I'm
Yeah.
listening to it. I put the lyrics down, which
Yeah.
is a no-no.
Yeah, it's weird. I kind of I completely understand with the needing the silence. I've go back and forth. For me, one song that I don't know what it was about this song. It's from Coldplay. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness, I can't remember the name of the song, but it's one of the songs from Coldplay, and it starts out. He has this beautiful piano, or it starts off with the piano. It's a song I listen to every time I fly. It's a weird thing
Mhm.
with me.
Right.
Anytime I get on a plane, I play that song as the plane is taking off. It's just my thing. But it inspires me, and I can't say what is inspiring me. Like inspiring me. It's inspiring me to write, and
Right.
it's weird. But then also relate with you with needing silence, because when I really get into writing, I have to turn it off. I can't focus with it
Right.
playing, So I completely understand. Like, it'll inspire me before I start writing. It's probably going to lead me to my laptop.
Well, and
And
there
then,
would
yeah.
be, I would say too, there are, some lyrics definitely
Mhm.
will give me ideas, I
Yeah.
listen to them in
Yeah.
the background. And again, it kind of gets more into the social aspects and things like that a little bit.
Yeah.
The world as we see it. So so some of that, yeah, hearing some of those songs
Yeah.
sometimes will give me some ideas, or I may work, a piece of it in there. I know
Okay.
I had a book. One of the books I did was talking about homeless
Mm,
veterans. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of homeless issues going on in the country right now, and have been for a
yeah.
long time, but especially veterans, and today's Veterans Day, too.
Yeah.
But I was one of those stories that I wrote and was inspired by, just seeing and listening,
Yeah.
hearing about those types of plights for those people. So,
Yeah. 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 And then you reminded me. Well, I have my favorite veteran.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm telling everybody happy Veterans Day, because I did forget earlier to say it in the show.
that's right.
Yep. Okay, so we're gonna do the quick commercial and then we'll be back.
Okay.
Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Okay, so we're back. And
I
now I
mean,
wanna
tapping my foot there to the music.
so another question I like to ask all my author friends is, would you like to see your book in a movie? Like, would you like, not in a movie, but would you like to see your book become a movie, be on the big screen?
If they paid me enough money,
Uh-huh.
yeah. But I always worry about them screwing it up, because it always seems like, the problem with movies is obviously it's a director's vision and the
Right.
author's vision and everything else. So they see it a little differently. So it doesn't always come through the same.
Right.
And it's hard, and especially in a 400-page book like I write, the last two
Hmm.
books, to put that in a 2-hour movie, you'd have to leave out a lot.
There's a lot you got to cut out. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be better for like a mini series, or maybe,
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever watched the Bosch series on Amazon, but Michael Connelly has a great book series, Bosch, which is another series I enjoyed. But the TV version of it, Titus Welliver plays Bosch on there,
Hmm.
is really good and fairly true to the story. So, and usually they combine one or two of his books into a 10-episode arc
Yeah.
of each about an hour each. So you could really flesh out the stories. They had to update them because the books they were covering were 20 some years ago. So
Wow.
they had to change them and stuff.
Yeah.
But uh, if they paid me enough money, I'd probably turn my way. But I would like to have some artistic control
Yeah.
on the story, and make sure that they don't
Destroy
mess
it.
it up. But it would be fun. I've had a couple of guys. One guy is a big reviewer of my books. Who's always enjoys. He says, why? About my Jarvis Mann series is like, why is this not a Netflix series? He's like, this needs to be a Netflix series. And I'm like, who do you know? Who do
Yeah.
you know in Hollywood, right? That
Yeah.
might be interested. I wouldn't mind it if, like I said, I could be controlled, at least be an executive producer or something, and
Yeah.
hopefully have
Well,
some say.
I know that's a great thing about being an independent author is you do have the control because you didn't give it away to a publishing company. So
Right.
that's a good thing. So I'm actually in the process of learning, because and I've experienced that. I started working on a script for my first book just to make like a pilot, and just doing that part I had to cut out a chunk myself.
Yeah.
I had to cut it out because I realized on screen it's going to come out a lot different than in the book. So, and that's why I completely understand when people say the book is so much better than the movie. I get that when I started sitting down writing, because I was like, there's a huge chunk. There's chunks that I have to cut out. There's also chunks that you have to cut out because you have to think about your budget.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, like I said, I've got lots of characters, especially in the Divine Devil series, and it's like having all those characters, even some of them are in there
Yeah, I got a
maybe
lot of
smaller
characters
amounts
too.
and stuff, but yeah, you'd almost have to have less unless you've got an unlimited. If
Yeah,
you got the big shots like Dwayne Johnson or somebody like that,
yeah,
where I do $200 million budgets for movies and stuff,
yeah.
might be a different story, but you're
No.
likely not going to get that. And one of
No.
the things I've often been asked is who would play your characters?
Oh, that
Who
was
would
my
play your
next
lead
question.
character?
That was my next
Have you
question.
ever
Yeah.
thought about that for your books? Like, who would be my
What?
lead, like your
It's
main,
funny.
you
See,
know?
now this is a weird thing for mine. The two main characters are like teenagers, 16, like 16, 19 years. So I don't really, it's weird writing it. I never really had, okay, I could see this person playing it. But there's certain characters, they're not even the main characters, but whenever I write about them, I see a certain actor.
Yeah.
And so in my thing, they have two uncles basically. One's named Tamaris, one name's Maxwell. Tamaris, I always see as Dwayne Johnson. So it's
Oh,
funny that you
really?
said, yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I always see Dwayne Johnson. Um, there's a lawyer named Cressida, and I always see her as kind of like Alicia Keys. Like she looks kind of like Alicia Keys.
Sure.
But then with my main characters, I can't tell you who I can see as those two people. It's kind of sad because they're the main characters. But the other characters, yeah, Maxwell, I see. I forgot his name right now. He used to be a basketball player, but I always see him as his character Maxwell, and I don't know why I always forget his name. But yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, that's interesting because yeah, usually the main character, and I don't write them with a character in mind, but
Hmm.
usually it's
It's a
people
main
ask, and I
character.
say, well, I think this person would do because they have the right
You're
personality
right.
to play
Yeah.
that character.
Yeah.
Like Jarvis Man, he's kind of a snarky guy and an attitude.
Yeah.
So I want someone who can do a little bit of drama, but also a little bit of the
Calm.
humor as well.
Yeah.
Like for Jarvis Man, it's like Bradley Cooper, I think would be great. Chris Pine would be great. Those
Yeah.
kind of guys would be good. And at least for the Divine Devils, Michael B. Jordan would be perfect for playing Hunter Divine, and a younger Denzel Washington would be perfect too. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Denzel's getting a
He's
little
getting
too
older.
old. Though he did the
Yeah.
Equalizer, he played that a
Oh,
little bit
I
that
loved him
type
in the
of character.
Equalizer. Yeah.
He's just getting a little long in the tooth these days to
Yeah.
maybe play a guy that's 40, which
Yeah.
is what Hunter is. So,
Yeah.
but he's a good actor, so maybe he could pull it with the right makeup and stuff. They digitally make him younger these days.
Yeah.
They did that with Sam Jackson in the Captain Marvel movie. They digitally
Yeah.
made his face look younger, like he was 30 again.
Wow. 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 It's crazy what they
Yeah,
do with technology now.
yeah, I know. It's like was he walking around with a green screen
But
all over
yeah.
his
How
face,
did you do
and then
that?
they made him younger. I mean, yeah, it's they can do pretty much anything these days. I guess again with the right budget.
Yeah.
Gotta have the budget for it though.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. So yeah, I had to like cut out, things you don't think about when you're writing. When you start writing, just for a book, when you start writing for a script, you start thinking differently. So I completely understand why it's not always. Now, if you have a big, huge budget, that's a different story. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, and writing a screenplay is totally different than writing a book. The
Yes.
way the design and everything, I don't, I know I couldn't do it.
The whole setup.
I mean, I
Yeah.
probably could, but I have to learn how to do it because it's,
Yeah.
just the way it's structured and everything is so much different.
Yeah. It's
So
very
I'm sure
different.
that was challenging for you as well,
It
unless you have
is.
that background.
It is because I'm like you as a writer, you want to tell the whole story, all
Yeah.
the little details, and you can't in the script. You gotta yeah you gotta downsize it a lot. So, but at the same time, it's fun because the fun part is if you're getting to write it. I know I'm gonna pass it on to somebody else who's gonna do it properly because it's probably a hot mess. They're gonna look at it and like, what did you do? But at least they'll understand what I want. So
Right. Well, and that's true of a lot of scripts. A lot of scripts get handed around from multiple
Yeah.
people. So,
Yeah.
and sometimes they get credit. Sometimes they'll say story by, and then the other
Yeah.
people will do the actual, or it'll take it as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite a process, and it goes through a lot
A lot.
to
Yeah.
finally get to, and then sometimes it'll get delayed. And of course, COVID has delayed a lot of these things. I went to an event in Nashville for where I won my award earlier this year, and they were talking. They had a couple of fairly well-known authors speaking, and they were talking about how their books had been pushed back by the publishing companies because they weren't.
Oh, wow.
There was such a backlog for the COVID and stuff. So books that were supposed to come out in 2020 were pushed back to 2021, and that's been true, obviously, in movies and scripts and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's all of that. But they, some of these things you hear about them, and they'd be 5-10 years and get passed around from different studios and different producers and all that.
Yeah.
And so, good luck. I hope it goes.
Yeah, it's interesting.
As long as they pay you, because I know she was one of the authors who was up there, and I'm blanking on her name right now. She was talking about one of her books had been picked up for it, and she got paid for it, and it never got developed. Says, well, at least I got paid.
Yeah, that's true.
It never turned into anything, but I still got money out of it. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I mean, there's a lot. So tell me, I had another question, a writer question. Oh Lord, my brain went blank. See, it's just age. It's just age. I wanted to talk about, because I really like what they're talking about, the whole writing process. You mentioned your award. So tell me about that. Like, what was the process for that? And how did you learn about that?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of them out there. So, and they all they all want money. They, to submit them and stuff. But there's a couple that I've pretty good. If you've heard of Reader's Favorite is fairly well known. And I won Best Psychological Thriller in 2019 for my book, The Front Range Butcher, which is my. But I submit them. Usually they'll do editorial reviews. So you got a lot of those too out there. A lot of different editorial reviews. Kirkus is one, which is is stupidly expensive to get an editorial review. They charge you like $700 for an editorial review, which is just nuts. And I don't know about you, but that's a lot of money to me to get in there. I mean, it'd be nice.
I mean, does it make a difference? Do you think?
It can. I mean, it's an editorial review. You get a newspaper or somebody like that, but still, you're like, should you have to pay that kind of money to get an editorial review? Reader's Favorite's a little more reasonable. I think they're like $70 or something like that. Okay. But then you can submit them then for their awards. And Reader's Favorite gives away almost 200 different awards every year. It's just crazy how many different awards there are in different categories and subcategories. From every genre you can think of. So I usually submit them for an editorial review. If I get a good editorial review, then I'll submit them for their yearly contest. Is what I did. And the Divine Devils for Reader's Favorite was considered a finalist. So it was considered one of the top 5 in the suspense category for last year, for 2021, this year, sorry. So that was nice. It was one of the 5, and they get a lot of submissions, and there are some well-known authors that get submitted as well. And then Killer Nashville was the event I did in Nashville, Tennessee, and I've been wanting to go for that the year. And there's several different mystery, suspense, thriller type of events. ButcherCon is one, though it's been canceled the last 2 years. Thriller Fest, which is in New York City, which I'm not a big fan of New York. I don't know that I want to go to New York City, but that's a big one, big event to go to. And then Killer Nashville was in Nashville, and I've always wanted to go to Nashville. If you love music, Nashville's a great place to go. Country Music Hall of Fame and all kinds of different stuff. And I had the year before, I had put it in for one of their awards, which I'm blanking on the name of the award, but it's for the best new novel that you submit like the first 10 chapters. and then they evaluated on that 10 chapters, and they give a winner away. And I did not make it. I got some nice feedback from them on it, but I wasn't one of the finalists for that award, and that was in 2020. So just in the spring this year, I got a reminder from them again about submitting. So I decided, well, I'll submit the Divine Devils book to them and see what happens, since they gave me some fairly positive feedback, and I took some of the feedback and it was in June, I think it was, I got a notice that I was one of the 10 finalists in the thriller category.
Wow.
Which was, again, it's a fairly prestigious award, and they probably get hundreds of submissions of books. So I was like, wow. So my wife and I were supposed to take a vacation to Estes Park that weekend that the event was. And I told her, I says, well, I'm a finalist. Do you want to go to Nashville for the weekend instead? So she was like, sure, we can go to Nashville. We've always wanted to go to Nashville. So we went there and it's a great event. They have a lot of authors there and speakers and stuff. And I was on a few panels, got to talk about writing and stuff, which was a great experience. And I would suggest anyone could do it. It's not cheap. It's $500 or $600 to go to the event, and then you got to pay for the hotel and a flight and rental car and all that. But you can write a lot of it off, but
that's true,
and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we had the award ceremonies, and they announced my name that I had the best thriller book of the year, which was really cool. And I got my nice little award here, which is sitting right behind me. I'll throw it up here, but I got the little
nice. Oh, congratulations.
Silver Falchion Award it is, and for the Divine Devils. So 2021. But it was funny, the guy that runs the event, he really tried to talk me in. I wasn't going to go. I said, well, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to go. And he goes, well, I think you really should come. So when I got my award, they have you do a little speech, which I wasn't prepared for. And I thanked him. Clay was his name. And I thanked him, and I said, thank you for encouraging me to come, because did you have some idea that I might win this award? I don't know. Whatever. So yes. So it was fun. So, but there are a lot of different awards out there. So finding it never hurts to submit your book if you've got a good enough book to submit it, but they all charge you something. You
have to pay something
money wise, and almost most of them do, at least for something. But it's nice to get feedback, and it's nice to be recognized as one of the best books out there, and it's a good thing. I put a little sticker on my Divine Devils book now, and that draws people to it. And I said, well, this just won best thriller of the year. This is it. And that alone a lot of times will get you an extra sale, at least at events.
Nice. That is nice. Oh, you're doing awesome.
Yeah, it's and it's, as I taught, there's not a lot of reward being an author. So when you get those, nice.
You got to cherish it. Yes,
you do. You enjoy it. And I know when I won, I was really surprised. And people at the table, there was another lady at the table who was up for award, and she didn't win. She was one of the finalists, but she didn't win. She goes, I'm crossing my fingers. We want a winner at this table. We're hoping. She was like, and so when I won, it was like, oh, this big, hoot and holler and everything. And I'm like walking up there going, oh my gosh, me standing in front of all these people, which is totally different than the type of stuff that I like. But it was nice. And there was another author who goes to a Wild Deadwood Reads event that we do in Deadwood, South Dakota every year. She was the winner of the best book of the year. So I knew her was there. So we were doing lots of pictures and stuff afterwards. So
nice.
I know she was just blown away that she had won too. So
wow.
But you got to do it, because, as I tell people, you got to do it because you love it, because you don't do it because you make a lot of money at it. If you're lucky enough to make money at it, great, but do it because you love it. Don't do it because you think you're gonna get rich at it, because very few people do. But the award, when you do win an award, it's nice, and then you got to sit there and brag about it, which also is kind of against my nature too. It's kind of hard to say, "Hey, look at me! I won an award," but
Oh my gosh. So it's good. And so tell everyone, where can they find all your books? Are they all on Amazon? Only on Amazon?
Yeah, I'm an Amazon only guy. I've tried to go wide, but I didn't really sell much anywhere else. So and I hate, because Amazon is the evil step brother, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
him, if you want to call it, out there and stuff. But you got to use them, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
yes, all my books are on Amazon. People can also buy paperbacks direct from me if they want a signed copy. My
Yeah.
website is just R Weir. I go by R Weir, so in my
Hardware.
name,
Okay.
Randy Weir, but it's R Weir, and it's at the bottom of the screen there. I see rweir.net.
Yes.
But my author name is just R Weir,
Okay.
on there, and there's not a lot of Weir authors. Andy Weir, who's a well-known
No.
sci-fi author, but
I saw him. Yes.
we're not related. So
Okay. I
he and
crossed
I
my mind.
chatted a few times on Facebook, but we're not related. We're in different set of Weirs. There's not a lot of them out there. But yeah, people can go to my website. People who sign up for my newsletter, I give them a free ebook as well from the Jarvis Man series, and I send out a newsletter once a month talking about events I'm doing and kind of my writing process and little
Yeah.
personal stuff about myself. We like to garden here, and how things are going in my
Okay.
life and how we're surviving COVID and everything else. So, but there's, I try to keep up with my fan base. It's not big, but it's
Yeah.
one I like to reach out to. And I encourage people to email me. I'm one of those people that when I get a review on Goodreads, I say thank you. I go in there
Yeah.
and comment and say thank you on every review I have, even if it's a bad review. I say thanks
Yeah.
for leaving the review. I
Yeah.
don't ever get snarky or say anything. Why didn't you like the book? I just say thanks for posting
Thanks
it,
for
because those
it helps.
reviews help.
Yeah, they do help. It's good, Yeah.
You like to get everybody to leave you a review, but unfortunately, you maybe 1 in 100 or whatever might leave you a review.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Some people, I don't know why. Some people just, it's like it's too much work to go up there and type in some words.
Well, and it doesn't, and generally speaking, the review doesn't have to be much. Just say, "Hey, I
No,
love the book,"
it's a
is all you
sentence.
need. There's
Yeah.
great story, a great job. I'm looking forward to read the next. It can be pretty
Yeah.
basic stuff, but yeah, on Goodreads and Amazon. I know Amazon is kind of a pain when it comes to reviews because sometimes they'll take some off after for some unknown
I
reason.
think I
Your
think with
numbers go up and
Amazon,
down.
yeah, the last I heard, you have to, the person leaving a review has to have a certain amount of sales, like purchases.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
newest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and they say it's because they're trying to cut down on people just leaving random reviews, but I don't know.
But do they do that with the big guys, the big
No, they
publishers,
don't.
who get, the book's out and it's got
Yeah,
3,000 reviews for it. It's only been out
yeah,
a week. Come
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Come on. Some of those are bots or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
somebody's posting those and getting paid for it. So
yep,
yeah, the independent authors who Amazon really nicks at us all the time.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm strict on Amazon, so my books are also on the Kindle Unlimited. So anybody who
Mhm.
does the subscription service, I mean, I don't get as much out of that, but it's every
Yeah,
penny counts. So
yeah, that's
I'm
true.
I'm good with whatever page reads I can get.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's great. I mean, Amazon is a main seller, unfortunately. It's just kind of the thing we got to deal with. But
Yeah, I wish they gave people more than what they give them.
Yeah, yeah,
That 30% that they
yeah,
take, and then if it's
yeah,
less than 2.99, they take 70%.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's like, it's kind of, and I probably should close my mouth because they'll probably, if they see this, they'll probably come and take my books off. But yeah, they're like any of these companies, you have to use them, but you kind of wish sometimes they shared a little bit more of the profits
Yeah,
with the people who are spending
right.
months and months writing a book, and then they lower then they've lowered the level so low that you sell a book and you
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
$2 or $3 out of it is all you get for every one you sell, which is you got to take a lot to count all the hours. Like I said,
Oh,
do it because you love it.
it's a labor of love.
It is a labor of love, yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, I
And I'd
thank
probably go
you.
insane if I didn't write the books because the stories are in my head anyway. So I got to
You
get them
got
out.
to get them out of your head.
I
You
do got to
got
get
to.
them out. Yeah.
So you probably have a ton more books in you. What do you think?
I definitely have at least, like I said, I'm partway through the one. I've got probably, I'm thinking it's going to be the fourth and fifth in this Divine Devils series for sure.
Yeah.
And then I'm debating on whether I'm going to come back to Jarvis Man. I had a simple idea possibly to add a 9th book in that series, though I kind of wrapped it up, but I was actually going to maybe use COVID to bring him back.
Oh,
a
that's
little
cool.
bit, really.
Yeah.
So, because he was now at the end of the book, and I don't want to give too many spoilers, but he had a bar. He opened a bar. So, and a lot of the bars, of course, got shut down, especially here in Colorado, and I think that's true of a lot of states.
Yeah.
So he was kind of at a point, where you weren't making any money, so he might have had to go back for that reason. So I'm debating about that, but I want to get these other books out of my head first, probably. So it'll be a few years yet.
Yeah, it'd be cool because it'll be relatable to what's going on currently. So I think people that'll really pull the reader into the story.
Yeah, I haven't really acknowledged COVID in any of the books yet, so I kind of just ignored it. I don't know that people necessarily want to hear about it, and I think I won't. It won't be in it. It won't be a main factor in it, but it'll be like a reason,
just something that's going on.
Yeah, that he had to maybe go back in and do. But we'll see. But it's going to be a few years. By then, hopefully, COVID will be a long lost memory, right?
Yes, let's hope. Let's hope.
Let's hope.
Let's hope. It's just a common cold by then.
That's right. Yeah. We won't complain about the cold or just a simple flu anymore, right?
Yeah. I mean, at one point in history, a cold would kill you. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So I do believe
same thing with the flu, pneumonia, any of those.
Yeah. The flu used to be so deadly. Now it's like nothing now.
That's right.
Oh my God. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, well, thanks for inviting me. I always enjoy talking. So
yeah, I'm really glad that we met. I'm glad you commented on that post. And for those of you who don't know, that's how I met Mr. Weir. He's commented on a post.
Good old Facebook or
good old Facebook.
whatever the heck they're going to change their name to. Yeah, every now and then make a good contact that way. But somehow we were friends. So we got friended up somewhere along the line, maybe through another author group or something.
Probably.
Yeah, but no, I've did so. Yeah, I'm glad you said, "Hey, do you want to be on the show?" And I said, "Sure," because I always love doing interviews.
That's right.
I've done quite a few, and
that's good.
Gives me a chance to ramble on a little bit.
Yeah, and what I liked is like because I've seen that post go around, everybody does it and shares it, but I was like, maybe let me kick it up a notch.
Right. No, that's a good way. There's there's a lot of interesting writers out there, and most of them like to
that's
chat.
what I love about us independent authors. I think our books are very unique, and that's something I love. Like there's so many different angles, so many different point of views. And I always say everybody has a book, at least one book in them. So that's what I love about, being an independent author. You can just, there's nothing, no one telling us what we should write, how we should write it. And so the creativity is free to just roam. So that's a great thing.
Yay, independent authors.
Right.
We need to form a union, right?
We do. We do. It would probably be a lot of introverts, but we'll we'll celebrate virtually.
Yes, well, that's right. This type of stuff would be perfect.
This is perfect for us,
right? Like I said, I'm good one-on-one.
One-on-one is
big
fine.
Crowds. I mean, I'm better in big crowds than I used to be, but But I've always been really good talking to people one-on-one.
Yeah, it was a very good interview. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed it too.
Thank you, and I thank you for being on.
Yep. If I know any other authors, I'll be sure to hand them. Well, I know a lot of other authors, but I can say, hey, but I'll be sure to share.
Yes.
Share this with everybody, and I'll share it in my newsletter and even on my website, which I.
Okay. That sounds great. We need that. Thank you. I'll send you a link to the video also.
Okay, great. Thanks, April. Great talking with you.
Have a great day or night.
It's night. It's dark all the time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.